So let's begin with defining a term, psychedelics. What are psychedelics?
Well, psychedelic is a term coined, it sounds like a 60s term, but it's actually a 50s term. It was coined in 57 by an English psychiatrist named Humphrey Osmond, who was in a dialogue with Aldous Huxley, who wrote a very famous book about what were not then known as psychedelics called The Doors of Perception, where he recorded his own mescaline trip. And he worked very closely with Humphrey Osmond trying to understand these new substances, because they just kind of were sprung on the West in the 50s and no one really understood them. And they went through this process of conceptualizing these strange molecules. And at first they called them psychotomimetics because it appeared to imitate psychosis. And the thinking at the very beginning, this is the early 50s, was that these chemicals were a very good way to help the therapist understand the mind of the madman, the schizophrenic, and allowed you to put yourself in his shoes or her shoes. And it sure looked like psychosis, right? I mean, people were seeing things that weren't there and hearing things that weren't there, and they were feeling their personalities dissolve. But then the shrinks themselves started trying the drugs, which was very common then. It was actually considered the responsible thing to do if you did drug research, is try it on yourself first. Now it's considered unethical. And they said, you know, this feels much better than psychosis. And they were having these often ecstatic experiences. So they had this discussion like, well, we need a better name. And in this debate, actually, it was Osmond who came up with the better word, which is essentially it combines the Greek word for mind, psyche, and delic, delos, is manifesting. So it means mind manifesting. It's vague in a way, but it's suggesting that these drugs bring the mind into a kind of an observable space. And that name has kind of stuck, although there have been efforts to rebrand them post-60s as entheogens, which means the God within. But that seemed a little religious to some people. So I decided I liked the word psychedelic, and I would try in my book to rescue it from all the incrustation of 60s Dayglow, you know, acid rock, all that stuff, and see if we could reclaim it, because it means the right thing.